For 15 years, Energy Transfer Partners pipelines leaked an average of once every 11 days. Once every 11 days for the past 15 years, Energy Transfer Partners pipelines has leaked. 5,475 days, 527 pipeline spills. That's the math presented in a new report from environmental groups Greenpeace and the Waterkeeper Alliance examining pipelines involving Dakota Access Builder Energy Transfer Partners. It's based on public data from 2002 to 2017. 5,427 days, 527 pipeline spills, Energy Transfer Partners. And they're still building pipelines across the entire country, and politicians are still okaying them. All told, those leaks released 3.6 million gallons of hazardous liquids, including 2.8 million gallons of crude oil, according to the data collected from the Federal Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration. And that doesn't even include the additional 2.4 million gallons of drilling fluids, sediment, and industrial waste leaked during the Energy Transfer Partners construction of 2 pipelines in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan. Also left out is air pollution and leaks from natural gas pipelines, which were beyond the scope of the new report, but would play a significant role in climate change and can cause explosions. So this is their track record. Their track record, Energy Transfer Partners' track record, is that time and time again, these pipelines break, they have spills, the waterways are polluted, the people get sick, and yet they still build, right? That's one of the great accomplishments of our current president. It's great. It's great for the economy. Again, it's great for the economy. Not at all, unless you're counting sick people as being great for the economy, which a lot of companies and politicians do. A long list of spills and accidents. Let's just graze on some of Energy Transfer Partners spills. ETP spilled crude oil over 400 times. Refined petroleum products, such as gasoline, 92 times, and flammable or toxic fluids, 27 times. The research found, and many of the spills involved large amounts of oil. Roughly 1 in 4 of Energy Transfer Partners pipeline oil spills involved 2,100 gallons of oil or more. Roughly 1 in 4 involved 2,100 gallons of oil or more. That is significant. That is not small. In one 2005 incident, 436,000 gallons of crude oil spewed from a tank farm into a Delaware River tributary outside Philadelphia. That same year, a pipeline built in the 1950s dumped enough oil into the Kentucky and Ohio River to lead a 17-mile oil slick. In 2009, a Texas pipeline caught fire and leaked over 140,000 gallons near Colorado City, Texas. Cleaning up the oil spills is no easy job, and it's costly, and taxpayers are the ones who mostly pay for it. Out of 3.6 million gallons ETP spilled, almost half, a total of more than 1.5 million gallons, was never mopped up. The report found, in addition, the company caused $115 million in property damage, according to federal tallies. Wow. Why isn't this on the news? Why isn't this on the news so people like you and I don't have to fight like people like with Joe Schmo about why we should move towards renewable energy? I went to a pipeline hearing when we were fighting a pipeline where I live in Western New York, and there was row upon row of pipeline people who worked for the national fuel, the natural gas company there. So they were pro pipeline, and I was against the pipeline, and they were fighting for their lives. They were heckling, they were intimidating. There was an older woman in front of me who was going to go speak. She had her information printed out and ready to go. Her husband had died of a very rare benzene cancer caused by benzene inhalation from the generators. And she turned to me right before it was her turn, and she had tears in her eyes and she was shaking. She said, I can't go. I can't go because of the men behind us heckling everyone who went up to speak. Now, those men were, I understand, they have families to feed. This is their job. This is their livelihood. We have to present people with other options, and the amount of jobs that can come from renewable energy is huge, and other countries are already experiencing this, the surge in jobs from renewable energies. But for now, the oil companies and the politicians have pitted people against people in order to push the oil and gas industry. Sunoco, which merged with Energy Transfer Partners, is included in the report's analysis. The combined companies operate over 70,000 miles of U.S. pipelines. That's nearly long enough to encircle the Earth 3 times. Oil and Water, ETP, and Sunoco's history of pipeline spills, that is a study, finds 12% of ETP spills polluted water sources. That compared against the 10% national average, which isn't very great, is it? So the 10% of all pipelines is the national average that pollute waterways. And believe me, we're not getting all the information, so it's got to be a lot higher than that. 3 out of 8 incidents nationwide were PHMSA, specifically noted harm to drinking water supplied involved Energy Transfer Partners. 3 out of 8 incidents where drinking water was polluted involved Energy Transfer Partners. But yay to the economy. The pipeline industry record has grown worse over time. The report notes reaching a peak of 454 spills in 2015 before dropping slightly to 404 in 2017. But these pipelines are aging, just like the pipelines that carry water that's full of lead. That's called infrastructure that needs to be fixed, but they're not being fixed. None of these pipelines, not the oil industry pipelines, not the drinking water pipelines riddled with lead, none of this is being fixed because our money is going to war in Syria that politicians profit from, which is actually linked to the oil industry because Saudi Arabia wants to build a pipeline through Syria, and the United States is Saudi Arabia's best friend because of the petrodollar, so they profit when Saudi Arabia sells oil to anyone. So they're bombing Syria and killing civilians and telling Americans that it's because they feel bad that children are being gassed by Assad, when in fact it's the United States who's launching massive airstrikes in Syria every day, killing elderly people and women and children, and lying to the American public about it because they just want to put a pipeline through so that Russia is no longer the supplier of oil for Europe, so that Saudi Arabia can be, so that the good old petrodollar can continue to pad the pockets of oil companies and politicians in the United States. So Bayou Bridge Pipeline. The Bayou Bridge Pipeline would tie into the Dakota Access Pipeline and carry oil from North Dakota's Bakken Shale down to the Gulf of Mexico. The Bayou Bridge Pipeline route is through wetlands and drinking water supplies for over 300,000 people. Construction of the Bayou Bridge Pipeline represents a high risk to hundreds of waterways across the entire state of Louisiana, said Waterkeeper Alliance Clean and Safe Energy Campaign Manager Donna Lisenby. The report warns that if Energy Transfer Partners' track record remains unchanged, which it will, the Bayou Bridge pipeline will experience multiple spills of 2,100 gallons or more of hazardous materials after it is built, assuming that the U.S. system-wide rate for significant crude oil spills of 0.001 per year per mile. We estimate that the Bayou Bridge pipeline would suffer 8 significant spills during a 50-year normal lifespan. That is what that report conducted. We're not happy with the Bayou Bridge because we know that Energy Transfer Partners is accident prone, said Harry Joseph, a pastor from St. James, Louisiana, where the Bayou Bridge pipeline will terminate. We fear that something will happen in St. James. It's a matter of time because the Energy Transfer Partners history, the company has had problems. And we always say it. It's not if, it's when. It's not if the pipelines will break and leak. It's when. Then we have sinkholes, spills ensuing. Pennsylvania Mariner East 1 and 2 pipelines. A new report tallied over 100 inadvertent releases of accidents, some of which contaminated local water wells, polluted local trout streams, and even caused massive sinkholes to open up. One of these sinkholes was only 300 feet from railroad tracks where Amtrak trains ran. A local commuter rail operates. So prompting the state to an emergency shutdown of the pipelines. 300 feet from Amtrak, this sinkhole opened up. Would it have made the news if it did open up and swallow a train full of people? Maybe briefly. Would it be in politicians' national addresses? Not the politicians who currently run the country. A West Cornwall farmer, Phil Stober, told in ABC News, "This is an organic farm, and if it damages our groundwater, what resources do we have?" The company's most notoriously controversial project was, of course, the Dakota Access Pipeline. The pipeline alone leaked 4 times in 2017. In addition, 3 incidents along the full stretch of the Dakota Access Energy Transfer crude oil pipeline were also reported to federal authorities, including roughly 5,000 gallons of oil spilled in Tennessee. It wasn't a question of if, it was a question of when. Other Energy Transfer Partner pipeline construction projects that had a lower national profile but also caused major spills. The Permian 2 Express Pipeline, ever hear of it? Did you hear about this? Dumped 361,000 gallons of crude near Sweetwater, Texas, in the largest pipeline leak in 2016. Did you hear about it? Did the people who are so gung-ho for oil and for politicians who push oil, did they hear about this? Did they hear about this $361,000 of crude oil that spilled near Sweetwater, Texas? Energy Transfer Partners. Balls. I have this segment labeled balls. Last August, ETP sued Greenpeace. They sued Energy Transfer Partners, who are polluting the waterways all over the United States, had the balls to sue Greenpeace, BankTrack, and Earth First, claiming that anti-pipeline advocates were engaged in racketeering against the firm and demanded $900 million in damages. Energy Transfer Partners demanded $900 million in damages from Greenpeace. Greenpeace is currently defending against those charges in court and argues that the case is what's known as strategic lawsuit against public participation amid a silencing discussion of harms caused by ETP. Now, a federal judge has dropped the charges against Earth First, but the lawsuit still goes on against Greenpeace. What would happen if that went through and Greenpeace had to pay $900 million. And all that Greenpeace does. And they're just fighting that we have clean water and clean air, fighting that the industries stop attacking the planet and the people. Renewable energy now employs more people than oil. Renewable energy now employs more people than oil globally. For the first time, there are more people employed in renewable energy worldwide than there are gas and oil. And this is what I spoke about at the public hearing. I went up and spoke. I didn't really get heckled that much because I was speaking straight to the hecklers, straight to the people who were there employed by National Fuel, who were pro-pipeline. I just looked straight at them and I gave them a few stats about renewable energy. And I know it doesn't help pay their bills immediately, but if we could bring in the renewable energy and they could then work there instead. So, and renewable energy supplies more stable jobs too. The renewable energy sector employed 8.1 million people in 2015, up 5% in a year. The report said while oil and gas lost some 250,000 jobs by the end of 2015, and for the 6th year running, more money was invested worldwide into expanding renewable energy production than into oil and gas production, but not in the United States. Because in the United States, we are told that climate change is a hoax invented by the Chinese people. What do politicians who are funded by oil and gas and who have vested interests or who are literally have investments in oil and gas, what do they have to gain by lying to you about climate change? Are scientists more likely to lie to you with absolutely no reason, or the people who literally make millions of dollars every year from oil and gas? Which ones would want to lie to you about climate change? That's common friggin' sense. Bottom line is, oil and gas industry covered their bases in the 2016 elections very well. I don't see Bernie Sanders on this list. In fact, I didn't see him on any of the lists I look at. So, can politicians be bought by huge corporations? Yes. Can huge corporations influence the policies in this country? Yes. Can the policies in this country kill American citizens? Can they affect the future of our children? Can they make us sick? Yes, yes, yes. So, but is there hope? Yes, hope is in the form of these wonderful new progressive candidates who are running and trying to take back the country. This woman, Paula Jean Swearigan, she is a single mother of 4. She watched her father and her grandfather die. She watched her friends and children die and suffer from the coal mining industry, the effects of the coal mining industry, and she has stepped up. I did a story the other day about another candidate who is stepping up. Her son was shot 14 times. He was unarmed, and she is now running for city council. This is happening all over the United States. There were 2 other people in this story that were activists who have been working tirelessly to stop injustices, who are now running for positions in the government. That is our hope. We need to spread the word about them all and spread the truth.